Hi everyone, my name is Rutuja and welcome back to Data to Crunch. So in today's tutorial, we will be diving into one business analysis using Databricks because Databricks is a powerful platform for big data processing. And in this, we will be using PySpark to process this Amazon Prime movies and TV shows dataset. So basically, I'll walk you through how we can set up a compute cluster, then how we can ingest the data, and then perform some initial transformations on that. So let's get started. So our agenda begins with the overview of dataset because we need to set up the initial stage for our analysis by understanding the structure and the contents of our dataset. So in this first we will ingest the data into Databricks and afterwards we will try to read this data by using some PySpark APIs which are getting displayed on the screen. Then next we will dive into data cleaning in Databricks by ensuring that dataset is prepared for some meaningful analysis by handling some missing values and the duplicates. So for this also we will use some PySpark data frame APIs. So once that is done, then we will move to data transformation where we will enrich the dataset to derive some deeper insights using some APIs. And then once our data is ready, then we will conduct some exploratory data analysis to uncover the patterns and the trends. So for that also we will use APIs like GroupBy, count, select, and OrderBy, and so on. And afterwards, this will lead us to business insights that can guide you through some strategic decision makings. And lastly, we will then explore advanced analytics with Databricks also, where we will leverage its capabilities for enhanced analysis and visualization. And finally, we can say that we will demonstrate data export to DBFS by ensuring that our results which we have performed, those are accessible for sharing and for further use also. So we will wrap up with the concise conclusion by summarizing our findings and their business implications. So before we start with our data, let's quickly go through our data set of this Amazon Prime movies and the TV shows. So I have downloaded this data set from Kaggle website and we will provide you the link in the description box below. So this dataset contains the information about the titles available on Amazon Prime, including movies and the TV shows. So it has several key features that will help us to analyze the trends, ratings, and so on. So let's take a look on some of our key columns. So the first one is title. So this is nothing but a name of movie or a TV show. Then we have type also, which is a genre of movie or a TV show, that is maybe action, drama, whatever it is. And then we also have the release year. That is nothing but the year in which that particular show has released. Then we have ratings also, the average rating which is given by the viewers. Then it also shows the director. So this column shows the director of that particular movie and the TV shows, and we also have the cast for the same. This is a list of main actors and the actresses, and we also have the country. So this country is where that movie or TV show was produced, and then we also have the date added column. That is nothing but a date when that movie or show was added to the Amazon Prime. And then lastly, we have description also. That is nothing but a brief description of our movie or a TV show. So this dataset basically offers a lot of interesting possibilities for our analysis, including like exploring relationships between the genres, then the release years, ratings, and even examining the trends in the movie's popularity across the different countries. So now let's get started with our practical. Okay, so now that we know what data we will be working with, now let's jump to the process of getting this data into Databricks. So we need to upload this data set and then we need to read it into our PySpark data frame for the processing. So I'll guide you through each step. So the first thing first, firstly we will need to create one compute. So just come to the compute and create compute. Then you need to select the runtime version, whatever it is, standard or ML. So I'll go with the default version which Databricks has given to me, and then I'll create compute. So it will take some time to create this cluster, so we will jump directly towards it. Okay, so now our cluster is ready, and it shows the state of green. It means that we are connected to our compute, or it has been turned on. So now the next step is that we need to ingest our data into this Databricks. So for that, go to the catalog and create a table. So our CSV file get converted into table. So select your respective file, open it, and once it has been opened, it will give you one status that file has been uploaded to some path. So just copy this path somewhere, or even if you forget to copy this path, just don't worry, we can retrieve this path into our coding. So now once we are done with this data ingestion, the next thing is that we will create one notebook to perform all these transformations. So for that sake, just go to the workspace, and it's always a good practice to create one folder for your workings and then perform, and then or maybe create some notebooks into that. So first I'll create one folder. Okay, so I have created one folder, and into this I'll create a notebook. Okay, so this is my notebook. So first thing is that first connect your notebook to the cluster or compute which you have created. Okay, so now it is connected, and then it's a good practice to give one proper good name for your notebook. So I'll give any name which I want to give. Okay, so it has been given, and right now my notebook has a default language of Python. So if I want to change any language for any respective cell, then I can change that language from here. Now let's first verify that the file which we have uploaded is in the correct directory in the Databricks, and so that we will get the particular path for that file, and we will fetch that path, and then we will try to do some data readings on the same. So for that, firstly I'll create one title for this. So for that, you can just go with one of the magic commands, which is %md, or from here you can select the markdown option. But you will see that when I typed %md, it has already changed their cell language from the Python to markdown. And I can select the heading format, whichever I want to do. Then I'll just give my heading name. Okay, so the dataset overview, our first part is dataset overview. In this, we will try to fetch our file. So for that, we have a syntax of dbutils dot fs dot ls. So if you will see, when you will start typing, Databricks also will help you out and will give you some suggestions like this. And you can select the correct syntax, whichever you want to select. And in this, I'll just give apostrophe and then a file store, and then the tables which we have created into our file store. Okay, now shift enter or run the cell. So if you'll see, it is showing all the tables which we have uploaded to our DBFS. So just check for your name. So if you will see, we have this Amazon movies details.csv here, which is the file which we uploaded earlier. So we just want this file path. So we will just copy this file path. Okay, so now the next thing is that we need to read this data into our PySpark data frame. So it will allow us to manipulate and analyze data using this Spark's powerful distributed processing engine. So I'll just give the title first. So it's our data reading. Okay, so for this we have syntax of spark dot read dot format. So before this, what I'll do is like I'll assign one constant to our file path. So for example, it may be, okay, file path, and I'll assign our respective path, and file path will be treated as a constant. Then coming back to our main query, So formats or file format is CSV. So I'll give format as CSV. Once that is done, then we need to import that data into a correct format, right? So I'll give the option and I'll turn on infer schema as true. So I'll give infer schema and I want this infer schema, then that assigned value must be true. Then again the options, and I want to assign the header properly because otherwise your headers will go into first row. So for that sake, what I'll do is like, okay, header, I want to turn it on. So I'll assign the value as true. And then once we have infer schema properly and then the header, I need to load that file. So lastly, you say load, and then you need to give that path here. But once we know that we have assigned that path to one of our constant, then we will just give our constant name here. Okay, so this is our syntax for that, and what we need to do is like we need to assign this syntax to one of the Spark's API. So I'll give the name of the Spark as df, and I'll assign this path here. Okay, and then we'll do shift enter. It will take some time to create Spark jobs for this data fetching. Okay, so now it says that it has created 2 Spark jobs for that. So now what we need to do is like we need to read this data. So you can read this data by 2 ways. So you can say that df.show, and obviously round columns. Okay, so now df.show, it is showing your value, but it displays a limited number of rows from your data frame into this notebook, but it will be in the plain text format and it's not readable. So what we can do is like instead of df.show, you can use instead df.display and shift enter. So now let's see this. Now this df.display is showing the data set into a correct table format. It is nothing but this displays a data frame into a rich interactive HTML table format within this Databricks notebook. So this is nothing but a data reading. So firstly you have ingested the data, and now you are able to read this data into notebooks so that you can manipulate this data going forward. So it is important to check the schema also to understand what is the exact structure of your data. So this will basically help you to identify the data types of each column, such as it may be string, integer, float, but you should be aware about the data frame types which of that respective column. So for that, what you can do is like df, and let's see, we need to see print schema and shift enter. So see here, now your respective columns and the respective data types are getting displayed here. So basically this basically this df.print schema, this method prints the schema of your data frame and it shows the column names along with their data types. Okay, so the next part is about data cleaning. So we will clean the data set, maybe to remove the missing values or the duplicates or rename the columns for the better clarity. So we will try some syntaxes here, which are nothing about the data frames. So first I'll assign one good name for this. Okay, so first we will try how we can handle the missing values. So maybe another title for these missing values. So I'll give the name as handling missing values. Okay, so in this handling, firstly we will replace the null values with the default. So for this, what we can do is like first go to our table, and okay, so we have rating column here and also country column. So in the rate, suppose if you want to replace the null values for any respective column, so here for example for the rating column or for maybe the country column or for the both. So for this column, I suppose I want to replace the null values with the unrated text, and for the country column, I want to replace the null values with the unknown text. So we will write this syntax using .na.fill for the multiple columns or for that specific column and not for the whole table. So how we can write it? So firstly, I'll assign one good title for this. Let's say suppose replace null values with the default. Okay, now we'll write the syntax for this. So we have our data frame ready as df, then df.na.fill. Okay, so we want to fill the na values like null values with what? So for that we will write now in this circle bracket. So in this we have multiple column names, right? So I'll assign curly brackets first. And the first column is our rating column. In this rating column, replace null values with the unrated text. Then comma, because we have multiple column names. Otherwise, for the single column name, this syntax was enough. But we have multiple columns, then we'll add those columns by commas. So the next column is what? Next column is country, and for the country, replace null values with unknown text. Okay, so once these values are replaced, assign those values to our data frame, and once you have assigned it, then display our modified data to us. Okay, shift plus enter. Now let's verify if it is working out or not. Okay, the country column. Let's run all. Okay, so the country column, let's see, your null values has been replaced with the unknown text. And let's check for the rating. We can see that these values are changed with unrated text. Okay, so this is one of the syntax. Then you can also remove the rows which contains null value at any point. So let's say suppose this is your one of the row or one of the entry, right? And it has null value in date added column. So if this row or the information contains any null value in any column, we just want to remove that row. Okay, so for that, how we can write the syntax? So for that you can use df.drop na syntax. So df is our created data frame, and drop na, you will get that method here, circle brackets, and then what? So any, I'll type any. So that means if there is any null value in that complete table, replace that complete row, or remove that complete row. Okay, and once you will remove it, again modify your df or the data frame, and then display me that data frame again. Okay, now let's see if we have any null values. Okay, so whatever null values there were, so those all complete rows has been removed. So this is the syntax, df.drop na, to remove the rows with any null values. Then there is one more syntax for this. Suppose if you want to remove the duplicate rows, then what you will do? So for that sake, you have df.dropDuplicates function, or the method, or the data frame API. So again, I'll assign the good title for this. Let's say suppose maybe remove duplicate rows. So for this, our data frame, we will manipulate our data frame. df dot, we have drop duplicates for this, and as it is a function, so curly brackets. So once you will remove the duplicates, assign or modify that df or data frame, and once you have modified it, just display that data frame to me. So for that, df.display. Okay, so it has removed all the duplicates, or all the duplicate rows which we were having. Okay. So apparently it shows that earlier we were having 28 rows and now also we have 28 rows. That means that we were not having any duplicate values. But suppose if you were having it, then this syntax would have removed it. Okay. So let's say suppose now you want to replace any column name for the better readability. Okay. So maybe for example, we have this column name as title, right? So I want to just replace it with content title because I just want that person or the business to grab whatever that title, like business can ask title, what's the title it is. So that this changing title to content title, it will show that, okay, this is the title about the contents. Okay. So for that, what we can use that we can use the syntax with column removed, with column renamed. Okay, so I'll just add the title, maybe rename the column. Okay, so for this, what I'll do is like let's just work on or manipulate our data frame df dot with column renamed. So it's good that Databricks also suggests us whatever syntaxes or the methods or the functions you can implement here that will be helpful or that will make your life much easier. So I want this with column renamed. Okay, now the circle bracket, and now which column you want to rename. Okay, so now I want to rename the title with what? Then title, comma, and then the updated name which you want to give for that respective title. Suppose I want to give that name as content title. So once you will rename this column name, modify our data frame. So assign df equal to and then that the syntax, and then display that respective modified data frame. So for that df.display. So now you can see the title has been replaced with the content title column name. Okay. So our next part is about data transformation. So again, add a markdown for a better readability. So I'll just assign the name as part 3 data transformation. Shift enter. And now we will perform some transformation to extract the data for more business insights, such as maybe creating flags for the movies or the TV shows, or maybe splitting the listed in categories and so on. So let's just have the hands-on for the same. So firstly, what we can do. So firstly, let's just add a new column and transform the existing data for the deeper insights. Okay, so I'll just give title. Okay, so first now for this data transformation, what we need to do is like first we need to import some PySpark functions and types. So for that, we have syntax as from PySpark. In PySpark SQL and in PySpark SQL, we will import the functions. Import. So instead of importing any particular function, I'll import all the functions so that I'll not need to execute this or import this respective or maybe newly added functions again and again. So for that, I'll do, I'll have star. So whatever the functions are there from the PySpark, just import it. And again for the types also, I'll just import all those types. So for that also import dot PySpark dot SQL dot types and then import all the types. Okay, so this is the syntax to import functions and the types. Okay, so now it has been executed properly. So now I'll create a new column is movie with the value 1 for the rows where type is movie. Otherwise, I want to have that value as a 0. So we have this type here, right? So I'll add one column here. So let's say suppose this type of the column is movie. Then we will add one new column with the is movie column name. And if this value is movie, then we will display that is movie value with the 1. Otherwise, if it is else, then we will display it as a row. So basically, we are going to add one new column named as is movie. Okay. So for that, we will use the syntax with column. Okay, it is displaying with column. So now with column what is your name, newly added column name? So my newly added column name I want to give is movie, comma, and what are the values you want to add in that. So we have already decided it, right? If the type is movie, then 1, otherwise it is 0. So for that, what we can write is like we will add one syntax as when, and the column name. What was our column name? Type, right? So when the type is movie, then display our value as 1 dot, otherwise display that value as 0. Okay, so it's clear, right? So with column, add a new column name as is movie, when to add it, or like what will be the values in this is movie. When the type is movie, value should be 1, and otherwise value should be 0. Then just let's assign this value to again df to modify it, and then Databricks, you need to display that value to me. Okay, let's just see if it is working out or not. Okay, in the last it is showing that it has added is movie, and if the type is movie, if this type is movie, then it is giving us value as the 1. Okay, so it means that our query has been ran successfully. So next what we can try is like similarly we will try to create a column named its series for the TV shows. It's nothing but a similar format. So for the movie we have assigned 1, right? So for the TV shows we need to assign 1. And for the other values, that means for the movies we need to assign 0. So we can use the same syntax. So just change what column name you want to give. So right now I just want to give name each series. When the type is what? TV show. Then display the value as 1. Otherwise, please be it 0 and then display it to me. Let's just check if it is working out or not. Okay, it has added one column name, its series, with the value 0 because we have the type movies displaying as of now. Okay, so now the next transformation which we can do is like we can analyze the categories by splitting and counting the occurrences in the listed in column. So we have this listed in column, right? So we have this documentary, and then the subtype of is as sports, maybe that documentary is of sport. Then if you have genre as a horror, then the subtype is of suspense, and so on. So we just want to split this listed in column into two columns, maybe documentary, horror, or action into one column, and then the sports, suspense, and so on in the second column. And in this first column we will get this horror first row, right? Horror, documentary, action, and so on. And in this we will count the occurrences of each of these listed in columns or the categories, and then we will order it by descending. So those count we want to arrange it in the descending orders. So how we can write the query for that? So first I'll assign one title for this. So maybe it analyze categories by splitting and counting occurrences. Okay, the syntax I'll just copy paste it so that I can explain you this in a proper way. So we have this df as a data frame which we have created, right? And for that we will use dot with column. So it will create a new column with the categories, and in these categories now we have created one column as categories, right? Then we need to assign some values for those columns, right? So for that what we need to do is like we have this already existing listed in column, right? So we just want to split this listed in column by the comma. So we will just split this column into an array named as categories. So this is an array, and we are splitting this listed in column by the by the comma as an array. So once you have done that, so we have assigned one new variable here, and then we are using this select statement, and with select statement we are just exploding this column. So this explode function, it will split the listed in column which contains comma separated categories into an array of categories. So we have created this new column with the name categories, right? So in this column, categories, just give the alias as categories. So we are exploding that array into individual rows. So we have created an array with the commas, right? So the before comma, that value will come into one row, one column, and the another after comma entry that will come into another column. So we are splitting this categories arrays into two different columns, right? Once you have separated it, just group by it. So the first column we are naming it as a category, right? So this documentary horror action. So this first we are naming it, or we are naming it as a category, right? So we will group it by, and then we will count. So maybe for example here, documentary, how many times is it occurring? Then the horror, how many times is it occurring? So we will just count each and every category, how many times it is occurring. And once you have that count, you just order that count in a descending order. So ascending is equal to false. That means order that count by or in descending order. And then once you are done with that, just display that category analysis variable so that we can see how it has modified all those columns. So let's just try to see the output. Okay. So as explained, it is we have created alias as category, right? So it is getting displayed here. And then this category, we are also counting those categories by group by and count. And then it is getting displayed in the descending order, like 6, 4, 3, 2, and so on, by the order by descending. So we can see that maximum category is about the drama, which is getting displayed 6 times, then the documentary followed by the comedy, and so on. So we have this aggregation function here, right? Count. So it is right now it is getting displayed as a table. So you have one more point for this. So if you click on this plus sign, you will get visualization also. So once you will click on that, by default, it will assign visualization type as bar, and automatically it has taken categories as a Y column and the count as the X column. So it is obviously it is a common sense that you suppose if you have table or the variables or the values, right? So you have a rough idea about how you want to display those values. Suppose if it is a bar chart, then what should be on the x-axis, what should be on the y-axis, and so on. So it's your knowledge or anything, like you need to decide how we want to display our graph. So for y column, it is showing other values also, but you need to see which values are proper on which axes. So let's say suppose X column, you can change it also, or right now it is showing as count, right? But count, in the count, it is showing as sum. You can change these aggregation functions also. You can group it by also, by the category or count. Right now I just don't want to display, because if I'll try to change those values, the graph will not get displayed as expected. So right now it is bar charts. Let's try if we can able to see pie chart. Okay, so I've changed it to pie chart, and it is showing me out of 100%, like how many percent has occupied by that respective category. So this visualization editor or this visualization is better for your analysis, so that suppose there is business, so they are from non-technical background, right? So if you are showing them values in the table, so they will be like, what are these values? So like, how are we going to, like, what's the meaning of these values? So instead of that, if you will show this visualization, it will be easier for them to understand, okay, now this drama category has more occurrences from the all, like it's like 14.6. So then they can see like what are the maximum categories, then what is the lowest category, what is the highest category, and they will be able to analyze these categories very much easily rather than saying those values in the table. So it is very difficult for the non-technical people. So it's always preferable to show visualizations to the business instead of showing these table values. Now the next part is about the exploratory data analysis. So now we'll explore that part. So I'll just give one title for that. Okay, so we will explore the dataset to understand the distribution maybe of content types, release years, or maybe for the popular categories. So first we'll try to understand content type distribution. So we have this type here, right? So we'll try to see, we will group this type by, and we will try to display the count for the same. So the title first, maybe type distribution. Okay, so for this, the syntax is df dot. Firstly, we'll group by. What you need to group by? The type column you need to group by. Once you will group it by, then count that respective groups, and once you will count it, order that groups in that descending order. So what do you need to order? The count which you have created, I want it in descending order. That means ascending is equal to false, and then display that values to me. Let's see. Okay, group by. So I just made one simple mistake in this order by, but now it is showing properly. So earlier what we have done is like we have removed all the null values, right? So in that our most of the data has been deleted or removed because it was containing null values. So whatever the values which we were having, or whatever the modified dataset or clean dataset which we were having, in that right now we have the values of type movie, and that count is 28, and rest the values of about maybe like TV shows or anything else that has been removed. So right now it's just displaying movie and the count is 28. Now the next analysis for the content production by year. So we have this release year column, right? So in this we have different years. So we need to see, or we need to group that data by the release year, and then we need to count the occurrences. For example, in 2021, maybe 6 movies or the TV shows has released, then what for 2020 and 2019, so on. So we need to display these years according to the descending count. So for that, first I'll add the title, maybe content production by year. Okay, so for this what we can do, data frame df dot first group by what? By our column name, release year. So we are grouping our column release year. Once you have done with this grouping, count each group occurrences, and once you have done that, order it by. Okay, so it was not descending according to the count, it is order it by in a descending, or no, now we need to order it by release year in an ascending order. Release year, and then just display. Okay, so now it is giving you release year. So we are ordering it by release years in a descending order with their respective counts. So 1989 we were having two movies or the TV shows, 94 one, and so on till the date of 2021. So we can also visualize data for this also, so like plus sign visualize, and then we will get a bar chart. So this is also of great help to analyze the data. So I'll just simply click on cancel. Now we will explore the business insights part. So I'll assign one good name for this. Okay, so objective of this business insights is that we are deriving some actionable business insights, such as maybe identifying highest top rated content or available titles by the country or maybe the prolific directors. So first we'll see we have what top rated content we have. So for that what we can do is like data frame dot filter. We have filter. Okay, so what do you need to filter? So first apply the filter as data frame. In this data frame, I want to filter rating column. But in this rating column, I just want to discard unrated values. So not equal to first unrated. So whatever the unrated values, we'll discard it. So whatever ratings are there, that values we will take. And once you will take that, we will order it by. Again, order it by what? The column name, rating, in an descending order. So ascending is equal to false. Also with for that we can use dot descending function for this, and then display whatever values which we have. Let's just try. Okay, so with this we are getting, or we are ordering the content by rating in descending order, so that we get the highest rated title first, followed by the other values. So next we can try for content availability by the country. So for this, what we can do is like we have country column, right? So df data frame dot group by, firstly group it by our column name country. Then once you will group it, count those respective values for each of the country, and once you have counted it, then order it by that respective count in an descending order. That means this ascending is equal to false. And once you have that order in descending, just display that data. Let's see what has happened. Okay, order by syntax needs to be correct. Okay, so it is showing that United States has released 21 TV shows or the movies, followed by the rest of the countries. We can also see the visualization. We have bar chart with the country and the count. Let's see line chart. Okay, line chart is also getting displayed properly. So whatever the type of visualization which makes sense to you, and for the further person, you can select that and you can have that visualization for your business analysis. Now the next part after business analysis is advanced analytics. So in this advanced analytics, we will apply some advanced transformations like Windows function for ranking the content. So this Windows function is important for us. So for this Windows function, what we will do is like we will rank, okay, I just add the title. We will rank the content by rating within each year. Okay, so let's understand by why we need this window function, because like we need this windows function because they enable some advanced analytics and ranking calculations across the subsets of data without collapsing the dataset. So unlike standard SQL grouping or the aggregations that summarize the data, this window function, it will retain individual rows while providing some additional context or the derived information. So right now we will try to analyze this ranking of the content by rating within each year, right? So this will help us to answer the questions like what are the top 5 rated movies or the TV shows for each year, or maybe how does the content compare to others which are released in the same year. So we can say that without this window function, we need to create separate data subsets for the each year, and afterwards we need to rank them manually, and then we need to combine the result. So that could be a tedious and error-prone process, right? So with this window specification, we can use this partition by that will group the data, and then we can use order by, and afterwards we can use this window function applications, right? Like row number. So this will end up with the result that each row of the data set now it has a new column or the rank with, by showing its position within the group of same release year. So now let's just try to execute this window function, okay? So for this window function, first we need to import window and the function row number. So for this, what we can do is like from PySpark dot SQL dot window import window, or the function and the function row number we have already imported it, right? So let's just import this first or only window function. Once it has been imported successfully, we'll define window specification. So for this, we will assign one variable, maybe window spec, equal to window dot partition by. We need to partition it by release year, right? And once you have partitioned it, order it by the column rating in descending order. Partition by. Order by. Okay, it has been executed properly. Now we have defined this specification. Now we will apply this window function to rank the content within each year. So df is equal to df dot. For this we'll use with column rank, comma, we'll use row number function, over this window specification. Okay, so now it has been executed properly. So we just want top 5 content for each year. So obviously for that we will need to apply filter. So df dot filter. So in df we have one rank column, and this rank column make sure that we need to display only top 5 because we have already arranged it in a descending order, and then just display it to me. Okay, so you can see we have rank column created, and for the release year, for the each release year we are displaying top 5 contents, less than top 5 contents. So if it has 2 contents available, it will just display 2 contents, and it is ranking it also. So 1 2 3 again for the next year, 1 2 3 for this year, which is this year 2021. See, for 2021 we have 5 entries, so it has ranked those 5 entries 1 2 3 4 5, and less than and equal to 5 entries, we just want to display that those only 5 entries for that respective year. So this is how we can execute this window function. Now the next part is about data export. So we will try to export this processed data to different formats for the further use. Maybe this time we will try to export that data into .csv and the delta format. So now let's just try. So first let's try to export that data into delta format. So for that, the syntax is df dot, we have write function for this, and that write, the format we want to give is CSV, delta, and in that delta the mode which I want is overwrite, and just save that data into our DBFS, that is file store, and in that file store just create one folder as processed, maybe delta, and save this into this subfolder. Let's just try. It will take some time to write that data to DBFS. Okay, it has executed. So just go to the catalog and then DBFS. The file store, you can see we have this processed delta. In this, we'll try to see. Okay, so in this we have delta log and the part. So this is nothing but our exported file, and it has also created delta log also. So shortly we'll see what is this delta log exactly. So before that, we'll try to export this data in CSV format also. So df dot, again the same syntax, df dot, maybe I'll just copy this. Now the format is not delta, it's CSV. Mode override is fine. And in file store, instead of process delta, I want to create a new folder, processed CSV. And now let's try to execute it. Okay, so now it is giving us some error that column categories has data type which is not supported by CSV. Now let's just see how we can resolve this query. So we can say that we are encountering this error because we have one categories column, right, which is in the type of arrays. So it can't be written directly into .csv format. So to resolve this, what we can do is like we can convert this array into a string format so that we will be able to write this into CSV. So one way to do is like we can join this array elements into a single string just separated by the commas. So for that sake, what we can do is like we can use concat underscore ws function for this. So let's just try to execute this statement. So df is equal to df dot with column, And in this column we have categories column, and this column is of arrays, so we will use this concat ws function to to change these arrays into a string separated by commas. So we want to separate our arrays by commas of the column categories. And this is a command to convert this array to the string. Once it has been converted, now then we can write this data into CSV format. Now let's just try to execute this. Okay, so it has been executed successfully. Let's just check in the catalogs, database. I don't know why is this happening, but let's just in the file store. We have this processed CSV file and we have multiple values here, or the multiple files here. So what is the purpose of this multiple files, right? Because it has 4 files, then the delta folder, it has 2 files. So basically we are performing partitioning, right? So it is mainly because of the data partitioning. So when you write the data using Spark, especially when the data is in large form, in large volume, then this Spark, it will split the data into partitions. So each partition is written as separate file. So this helps the parallel processing and optimized storage. So for example, if you are writing this data into maybe .csv format, and Spark can create multiple files here, right? So right now we don't have that much of data, but if we have that much of data, then it would have created part 000, then part 4 times 0 1, and so on. So to fetch, or like for each partition of that data. And this one is for the success, and the rest two values are for committed and the other functionality which has been created by Databricks. And in process delta we have this delta log also. So this delta format, it involves a set of multiple files. So it includes data files also, which are the actual files that store the data of a data for data file of this data delta format. And then the transaction, we have transaction log files also. So this will maintain these transaction logs in the delta log folder within this delta table directory to ensure that we have ACID, nothing but ACID compliance. So these logs contain the metadata about the data changes like commit, versions, or maybe the schema changes. So that kind of changed values, or the logs of the metadata that are contained, that are involved, or that are stored in this delta log folder while storing these delta files. So with this analysis, we came to the conclusion. So the analysis of this Amazon Prime dataset, it has revealed some key insights that can drive the strategic decisions. So the first conclusion would be the content type distribution. So the understanding the balance between movies and TV shows, it helps, or it helped in shaping the content acquisition strategies. The next one is content production trends. So analyzing the volume of releases over the time, it has revealed the trend that can guide you for the future content strategies. The next we can say that is genre popularity. So identifying the most popular genre, it allows the Amazon to focus on the content that aligns with the audience preferences. The next we can say it's content, top rated content. So highlighting the highest top rated content, it helps to prioritize future projects and the marketing efforts. The next we can say that is global availability, or a global reach. So analyzing the content availability by regions, it informs licensing and the expansion strategies also. The next one we can say is talent analysis. So we can also say it director and cast insights. So recognizing the top talents or the directors, it could help you in making some informed decisions about the future collaborations with that respective director. And the last one we can say is that advanced analytics. So ranking the content by rating within that each year, it improves the content recommendations and the user experience also. So depending upon this conclusion, we can have some strategic recommendation for the business or the stakeholders also. So those recommendations would be, first one can be focus on acquiring high demand genres or the content types. Then next we can say we can tailor the regional strategies also to target the untapped markets. Then we can also promote the top rated content and trending genres in the marketing. And lastly, we can collaborate with the successful directors or the actors to boost the content quality and the engagement. So this analysis basically provides you some actionable insights for optimizing these Amazon Prime's content strategy and also enhancing the viewer engagement. So I think that's it for the day. So by analyzing the data set from a business perspective, we have uncovered some valuable insights into content trends, viewer preferences, and key business opportunities. So these insights can drive some strategic decisions in content creations, maybe in marketing or in the distribution. So in the next tutorial, we will try to cover one more business analysis using some new Spark APIs which we haven't covered in this business analysis. So if you have enjoyed this analysis or if you have liked this tutorial, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Data to Crunch for more business driven tutorials. So thank you so much and see you in the next video. Till then, keep crunching the data.